You're listening to Pop This, the podcast where two women talk about everything pop culture. Here are your hosts, Lisa Christiansen and Andrea Warner.
So I started a New Year's challenge. I believe I said I wasn't going to do resolutions. I was going to do challenges.
Yes.
Oh, yeah, that Guardian thing.
Right. And now I'm into my read 50 books this year challenge.
Awesome. How's it going?
Here's the thing. So the reason I wanted to do it was because I really did a bad job of reading last year. It was just not a great year. I mean, I managed to get through all of Parks and Rec.
Yeah, me too.
You know, but the book part was a real challenge. I was good at buying them. I mean, as I learned, I was good at buying all kinds of things mailed to my home. And so I thought I'll just start the book challenge with finishing a bunch of books I didn't finish last year. So I don't know if that's really cheating or smart, but at least I got them done.
I mean, it's just about your accountability and how you feel about it. So if you feel good, great.
Well, I do.
Wait, did you read a lot of books part way and then just leave them?
That's right. Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, I did finish some. I'm not saying I didn't read any books, and I did. But I, in particular, just didn't sometimes finish them. So I finished 3 books.
Good for you.
And then I read another. So I've read 4.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's great.
And and I do realize that this challenge requires a book a week, right? Because with maybe a little extra time, an extra day or something, because 52 weeks in a year. So I've realized when you put a challenge like this, you really aren't doing a lot more than just reading. Like, you just have to read. Like, that is...
Do you like to do audiobooks as well, or no? Do you only like to do physical reading?
Yeah, I like to physically read. I like the sort of laying down on the couch with the cup of tea or whatever. I enjoy that particular part. I haven't really delved too much into audiobooks. You said you recommend it?
It's really changed my ability to read like way more than it, like I used to read all the time when I was younger, and then as I got older and I just, things, you get busy doing other things, and so I really was missing reading, but because I do sort of require I have to like do things all the time. I tried and because I like podcasts so much, I was like, well, audiobooks they should work for me, I listen to podcasts all the time. And so I started listening to audiobooks last year or the year before. And yeah, I guess the year before. And I really love it. Like, I now so our dishwasher broke, and we've decided we don't necessarily want to get it fixed. Like, we're just gonna do dishes by hand. Which I know, whatever. It's pandemic. And
I want an update on that next week and how well that's going.
It's been 2 months.
2 months?
Yeah, our dishwasher broke back in late November.
So you're never going to fix it even after the pandemic's over? Or is it just because you don't want to get someone extra into your house to fix it?
Well, we don't want to have anyone extra into our house to fix it until more stuff breaks, and then try and get it all done at once. But also we're trying to do this dishes thing and see if we even really need a dishwasher, because maybe we don't. And so I've been listening to books and doing a lot more cleaning, so because I like to have something going on. So the book I recommended.
Now, do you find you have to see? My concern is, especially when I'm reading, sometimes I'll start to daydream, and you got to go back and listen again.
That does not happen in the books that I have had so far, as long as I've been doing one other physical thing. Mm-hmm. So I vacuum and I do dishes and or I fold laundry or clean the bathroom or whatever. It really works for me. I stay very focused on the book, and or I can even play a silly little iPhone game as long as it doesn't require me to spell stuff, because I can't spell while I'm listening to words. But as long as I'm just doing something with my basic physical functions and not trying to do anything like linguistically, I can focus on the book and like stay like really in it. So one of the books that I just got, audiobooks, I got Jessica Simpson's book because I loved like the You're Wrong About going into it.
Oh, such a good that was a great episode.
Good.
Oh my god, yeah.
And I've heard such good things about the book in general, so I decided I wanted to like get it, and I thought audiobook makes that's a good choice for me.
Did she read it?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, and I think it would be nice to hear it in her voice. So, I'm kind of like really looking for, and I'm also going to do the Mariah Carey one. I'm really looking forward to that too.
Yes. Well, and you did make your own.
Yeah, I mean, I read my own. AG produced it. Like, I mean, we were in there.
Yeah,
and that was an experience. But like, it's kind of nice because I still hear from people who are like still reading the book now or like listening to it through like the audiobook or whatever, and it's fun when or like, you know, when people listen to the podcast and then they're just like, oh, and then they talk to you like in person, they're like, it's so weird, you were just in my ear. And it's kind of
I had someone stop me on the street and say that too.
Yeah. But like some of the audiobook narrators are so good. Like one of the books.
But is that reading? I just want to but is it?
It has to be, because reading can't be like, if we were confining reading to simply being holding pages and being able to look at them, it'd be pretty ableist, right? Like, so reading has to be like however you can sort of like have stories told to you and you can engage with them, right? So I think like it's really upped my reading, and I still buy books. I obviously still have like a million sitting behind me right now. And sometimes I love a book, the reading of the book so much that I then buy it. So I can like revisit it and sort of re-examine the text. But like particularly a lot of like the fun reads are so much more fun when they're read to you.
And I love shopping for books. I do. I love book shopping. And I'm going to be honest with all of you here. I judge a book by its cover. I really like a good graphic design. Yeah. I like a good paper stock. I like all kinds of things.
That's for me, like I have just gotten to the point where I have so many books that I bought that I haven't read that I've just had to put a moratorium on buying books.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. I just can't anymore. And
said the person who just ordered 3 yesterday.
But I've listened to audiobooks occasionally, but I have found them really effective like when we're going on a road trip to get an audiobook, especially when it's like an author that's from the area that we're going to, or the stories about that area. It can really help, help you learn about, where you're going and sort of get in the mood for going on a trip somewhere. But yeah, like audiobooks are good. It's just sometimes you have to make sure that you like the narrator. Like listen to the test before you download the book, and make sure it's kind of like a story you're in the mood for. Just because like once you commit, and if you're finding it to be like a slow, boring story that you're not that interested in, it's hard to keep going on an audiobook. But I guess that's true of any book.
Yeah. Well, one of the public libraries have tons of audiobooks that you can borrow, and I think that's like a really good way that works too, because it can just sort of fills your brain a little bit differently, I think. And like hearing and obviously it's not always the authors who are reading their own work, but sometimes it is. And when you can have that experience and you really like hearing, like thinking about the book Thick, like hearing that in like Tressy's voice is this, it's just wonderful. Like it's so wonderful. And it feels like, I don't know, it just feels like such a treat to just hear it, how it's because also when you as an author are reading the book out loud, which I really think every writer should always read their work out loud to themselves, just so that they hear if it sounds the way you want it to sound, I really like that. I think it like just makes the writing come alive in like a slightly different way.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and especially if there's like a good actor kind of narrating it too, like sometimes it can do like the different voices or characters a little bit.
See, now I don't know if we've discussed this here, but I had a heck of a time trying to get through The Sound and the Fury. Is it, who likes that book? Is it one of us?
No,
I like that book.
Yeah, okay. I cannot, William Faulkner, just
Yeah.
so we get that out. I had to keep rereading certain passages because they were like in someone's voice, and I had a heck of a time. And I wonder if that would be easier.
Oh, that might.
Yeah, for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Or also, if the book itself actually turns out to not be very good, but you like one of the narrators, it can make you enjoy the book much better. Like, so for example, I know a lot of people really loved Lisa Taleo's Three Women. I think it was like 2018 or whatever.
That's a nonfiction though, isn't it?
No, that's the thing. So she fictionalizes this story after doing apparently like research of what seemed to be only white women, of like 100 interviews with like white women about like their secret sexual experiences. And then she creates this fictionalized story of these three women who become like her, but it's only lightly fictionalized, but it's definitely fictionalized. So it's a weird, complicated thing. And it's honestly, I don't actually like the book that much, but Mina Saveri narrates one of the characters, and I really love her as a performer. In fact, like the narrators are all good, but I really love her voice performance so much that I tore through that book. And if I did not have her reading it, I think I would have not finished it at all.
I like how you still use the language of a paper book, but audio. Tore
Yeah,
through.
no, I
That's interesting.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, I perhaps might, as things get to the crunch, maybe toward the end of the year or no, I don't know. We'll see. Right now, I'm okay with the plan of just not like of watching 1 or 2 episodes of a series I like and then reading.
Are you doing the Guardian one that you talked about before, or is this a different challenge?
No, this is just one I'm doing with my friend Margaret Gallagher. And Margaret is a way faster reader than me. So we keep texting each other. She's like, done. And I'm like, oh, come on. Like, what kind of, is it big print or what are you doing here? But she just is a faster reader. So I feel like my suggestion would be, if someone is considering this, since it's still January, get someone else to do it with you, because then, you can go back and forth and kind of go, like have somebody to cheer to, like rather than just writing it in your notebook.
Yeah, totally. That's a really good idea. I've started keeping track this year of things that I like. So like books that I read that I like, TV that I like, films that I like, because normally I sort of, unless I tell us about them or we do them for the podcast, I forget. And so this year I decided I would try and track stuff I really like.
Whenever we talk about how many episodes we've made,
yeah,
I go, wow, that was like something we watched or listened to or read, and that overwhelms me. And of all of that content that we have absorbed. But then you're right. If someone said, tell me about some of them, I'm blank.
Totally. Me too.
Like, just totally blank. Like, I don't know. What was a popular movie then? Pick it. You probably saw that.
Anyway, we should talk about our movie, because
we should. Yeah.
We have I feel like there's not a good segue, so I'm not even going to try and fake it, but I'm Andrea Warner.
I like the dramatic pause though. That was great. That made sense. We're doing
AG for sure can just cut right there. No, I'm kidding.
But the dramatic pause makes sense since we're doing a dramatic play. So
honestly, and yeah, really, it's like stage whisper.
Yeah, I'm Lisa Christiansen.
I can't pull that off. I'm Andrea Gin.
You can put your own pause in later.
You know what? No, I'm just gonna lift us introducing ourselves from a different episode and paste it in.
Well, you're listening to Pop This, if this even makes the cut. Who knows now? And I'm really like I've seen the trailer for. I had seen the trailer for this film for a long time. I'm really happy that we're going to talk about this movie today. I did not watch it until the new year. I didn't watch it when it initially came out because I knew that we would do this at some point. But we are going to talk about Ma Rainey's Black Bottom.
Yes, I had not seen it as well. And again, I think a lot of us were probably knew about it mostly because it turned out to be Chadwick Boseman's last film. Which is quite a legacy to leave if this is your last project.
Well, that's the weight of that is huge.
Yeah, you can't really watch this without thinking about it because he has such a significant role in the film and a lot of, like sort of even 5-minute monologues in the film. And like while he's doing that, you can't.
And he had cancer.
Just think about
during that process.
Yeah, and this. And so it is quite devastating when you're watching it.
Yeah, I mean, like I remember the trailer coming out sometime early last year, and I remember particularly because like Viola Davis, who stars in it with Chadwick Boseman. I remember specifically like the trailer really sort of positioning it as to me it looked like a music movie, and it looked like a music movie that was going to be about Ma Rainey, famous blues musician, like the godmother of blues, basically from the 1920s. And I was so excited about it. And I didn't really, in the beginning, when I first saw the trailer, I didn't know that it was based on a play. And then as we sort of like got closer and closer to the release date, and then obviously when Chadwick died, kind of like surprisingly to most people, just like this initial additional significance sort of took over. And I think I wasn't like emotionally in the right place in December of last year. Somehow, I don't know why I thought January would be better. But yeah, it's like a really big, it's just a big movie, even though it's only 90 minutes. Like it has a lot of weight.
Yeah. And I find the performances from Chadwick and Viola Davis just to be, amazing. Like it's really the performances to me that those two performances in particular that really just kind of just blew me away about this film. And I
haven't seen a lot of, I don't think anyone has seen any theater in the last year. And I know I didn't go to a lot of plays, but it did remind me of why seeing a play is not like anything else.
Yeah.
Yeah, totally. And that's, we should maybe read the background and the synopsis, and then we'll like get into that. Cause I think I would love to talk about that a little more. I can do the background.
Sure.
Ma Rainey's Black Bottom is a 2020 American drama film directed by George C. Wolfe, written by Ruben Santiago Hudson, based on the play of the same name by August Wilson. The film and its source play focus on Ma Rainey, an influential blues singer, and dramatizes a recording session in 1927 Chicago. I'm just going to like skip a little bit, but the project was originally announced alongside Washington's Fences in 2013 as part of a 10-picture deal with HBO. Eventually, it moved to Netflix, and Denzel Washington is intending to produce film adaptations of all of August Wilson's plays, I believe.
Yeah, I know. I've heard that too. Mm-hmm.
So and I think they will all be on Netflix. So
yeah. So this is like a significant. I mean, it's a significant sort of like it's significant on many levels, but I just want to like sort of say that that's an incredible project to undertake, and I'm really glad that it's going to have a place to live online and like streaming it forever.
Yeah, and just reading this now, I didn't really think about this. I mean, it was Chadwick Boseman's last role, but he died during post-production. in August. So that's quite a startling thing. But I'll do the synopsis here then. In Chicago in the 1920s, Ma Rainey, played by Viola Davis, has made a name for herself playing in nightclubs and has become known as Mother of Blues. She loves what she does, even if she feels that the white management who want her to make a record don't care about her as a person, only as a voice. She loves her band of musicians, including loyal veterans Cutler, Coleman Domingo, and Toledo, Glyn Turman. However, her ambitious horn player, Levy, played by Chadwick Boseman, has big plans for the band that don't meet Ma's approval. He dreams of having his own band and making his own records, but tensions with the other band members may jeopardize his bright future.
Yeah, it was like I did not fully understand that Viola Davis and Chadwick Boseman would be separate for so much of the film. And I love it as a showcase for both of their talents. And then when they sort of come together, you can feel the tension and the animosity, like from the characters, not between the actors, obviously. But it's such a smart staging device. Like, I mean, it makes sense. Like, it makes sense like for a play, and I can understand why they sort of set it up in that way. And it also makes sense as like sort of it unfolds in these 3 acts, and like you've got these sort of like heightened moments in each act, etc. But like, I was not prepared for how sort of, I think, kind of rigidly it stayed to its like sort of form as a play for the film.
Did you like that, or do you like in general plays that are turned into films, or do you find that kind of, I don't know, distracting because you're thinking of it as a play the whole time you're watching it?
It can be kind of stilted, and I think that there are moments where this does feel kind of stilted. Like you want it to feel a little bit more natural, and like a play having like long sort of monologues makes a lot of sense. That performs really well, like in a large, like, you know, in a theater of any size, actually. I think it stands out a little bit more in a film, but I didn't hate it. Like there's other plays that get transferred into film that I think they do like a sloppy job, and it's not good. But I think this was actually quite successful because like it respects the structure of what August Wilson did, but it is not just a straight up like lifted up. It's not a filmed play. You know what I mean? Like it's still a movie. It feels like a movie. It's not just like a filmed adaptation of Rent or Hamilton or something.
And I did read that there was efforts made, I guess, by the cinematographer to have a contrast between what the outside world looked like and inside this studio, for lack of a better word. That there was sort of something kind of light and magical outside, like a big world that was thriving, and in there it was all very depressing and, you know, dank and hot, and just not a great place that you would imagine would bring out great art. Maybe I'm wrong.
Yeah. Well, and like being stuck in the green room that these musicians are expected to sort of like practice in and wait in is this closed in, locked in space. And, you know, Levy is always trying to like get through this door to, you know, get into something that he imagines is better. And when he eventually finally breaks through that door and he ends up in this small cube of outdoor space, but the walls like are extraordinarily high. Like I feel like that, I mean, I haven't seen a production of this play on stage, so I don't know what that looks like. But I think in the movie it was really effective to just sort of show how all of the things that he imagines being better are you know, end up sort of like being corrupted and disappointing because he's not necessarily chasing his art. He's chasing like a much shallower sort of like form of like success that is just ego gratification and not you know, beyond that.
Well, the director George C. Wolfe, sorry, said that it was kind of a metaphor for like racism in America because like he's just trying so hard to bust through this door for the entire play. And then like kind of along the same lines that you were saying, A-Dubs, it's just that like he finally does at the end and he's just met with a brick wall, like literally a brick wall, and that he can't scale. And it's just, it's kind of like the layers that, that are in this film about like, the racism of the times and racism that still happens today. But yeah, the director is like, that was a very deliberate choice that he made to put that in the film.
It's a really beautiful film to look at. The colors, the intense lighting on Viola Davis's face, the sweat, the makeup, the teeth, the hair, her what's a nice word? Generous bosom.
The bosom.
The bosom area.
Yeah.
I also find that those 1920s
outfits.
Yeah, they're beautiful. I love them. I wish I could wear those. They look like they would be all right in the summer too, because there is something I like. I mean, now that we're where we are, if it's warm out, people just tend to like wear shorts, right? I mean, that's what people do, right? But at a time where you can't really tell what season it is by the way people dressed, a little bit. Well, they don't have a giant coat on or boots or something, but you'd still be wearing a suit. You're going to work, so you're going to wear a suit.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, and I mean, I think like her gown seems like it's like at least partly made of velvet. Like that is not a forgiving fabric in the heat.
And just the way, I just love the way she sat in the chairs too.
Oh my God, so good.
It's just so like, I'm hoping for a draft up here. And
I mean, Viola Davis is so amazing because like, even though she's so well known and I've seen her in so many films and TV, like she still is able to transform into whatever character she's playing. Like there's some actors like Leonardo DiCaprio, like no matter what movie you're watching, you're like, that's it's Leonardo DiCaprio. DiCaprio. But like she just totally transforms into
absolutely.
Her characters.
Yeah, definitely.
I was thinking so much about like, remember when we watched Widows and how much like Widows is such a good movie and she's so exquisite in it. And it's like this completely different performance and like completely transfixing. And both of like all of her performances are, exquisite. Like I watched How to Get Away with Murder and I know that like that is not like sort of like considered, necessarily high art, but I really enjoyed it. And I thought she was amazing in it. Like she's turning out an Oscar-winning performance every week in that show. Yeah. And so one of the things that I thought was like kind of incredible about this is that like she really, like I think like Ma Rainey, like I've written a little tiny bit about her and I've researched her a little bit in the past, and she's this like incredible person who the other thing I didn't understand originally when I saw the trailer was that we weren't gonna like it wasn't just about Ma Rainey. Like I thought we were getting like a biopic or something. And then when I found out no, it's like the play and blah blah blah, and I was like, okay, I get it. But now I want the biopic about Ma Rainey, and I want Viola to do this.
I'm the opposite.
Oh, really?
I feel like, oh gosh, I am so tired of biopics. I find them dull. Dull. I find it's just like a Wikipedia entry. We're just going to work our way down. However, when someone wants to tell a story about a famed, real person, and they choose one event to
I didn't mean I want like a birth to death. I want one event. I think that's the smart way.
I just love the one event story. I just feel like we get so much more out of this instead of these clipped scenes of like birth and
I agree.
One quick scene is a 5-year-old and then a 10-year-old. I mean, unless it's going to be heading us to that one scene, because I love those movies. And again, we are watching a play, and I could feel that, and that's why I liked it so much, because it just had that. We're just catching people at a moment, and this particular moment, and obviously you're assuming that if we're going to tell the story with this moment in mind, it's because something happens in it. It's not that there's going to be some issues explored, and so and then we're going to learn all about that character or many characters, So yeah, I was. It's not that I'm not interested in Ma Rainey. It's just that I was so relieved to not have to do a biopic again.
No, you're right, and I think biopic. I'm saying that, but I don't really mean it. I want like this movie to exist, and then I don't want anyone to say we don't need another film about Ma Rainey. Well, I want there to be like another Ma Rainey film that like gives
because she's kind of underappreciated and not as well known.
Hugely.
Yeah.
Well, I feel that way about Sister Rosetta Tharpe too.
Totally, but like
that I would love to see some kind of story about like whether it's. I know she had a famous tour of England where she played in like there's that great YouTube clip of her playing in the rain on that train platform.
Oh God, that's such a good. I love that.
I mean, wouldn't that just make a great movie? Just that sort of like all of that, like the getting there, the performance, all of that. I often think about that.
Well, that's the thing, yeah, and I would love that. Like, I just think like it would be so, especially because like, especially someone like Ma Rainey. Like, I know that like we were talking in your outline, AG. You're mentioning that like there's only like 7 pictures of Ma Rainey, versus like there's like tons and tons of photos of Bessie Smith, and like Ma was. She was like older and fatter, and she had darker skin, and she also was very like in charge of her recording. Like she knew, she's what people would have called and still probably would call like a difficult woman, but that just means that she like had an opinion about what her value was.
I just thought her
she shouldn't be exploited.
Diva. I just thought there was an early diva. Like, I asked for the Coke. You said you'd have it. We're not doing anything until I get the Coke. Like, it's not that difficult.
Well, this comes up a lot there was like a Nicki Minaj interview like a number of years ago, and it was recently replayed on Who Weekly, the podcast. And it's like her thing where she's like, well, I show up to a shoot, and if you don't have basically like what I've said on my writer, like if you're going to treat me cheap, then you know that you don't value me. And I know you don't value me, and I have to insist that you value me, because that's what if I was a man, you would just do it, and we see this in some like the whole point, like that Coke scene. I love everything about that Coke scene, but like it's something so simple. And we see this her manager is this like guy who like he's this sort of like harried white guy, and he's like having to manage this like difficult Black woman, and it's but the other guy that's in the studio with him doesn't respect her at all, like, but they're making so much money off of her. Mm-hmm. Like they are making so, and she knows, like she is just printing money for them at this point in time. But it's also like she's writing these songs. And so the same way that they're exploiting Levy already, like they're going to take his songs for $5, and like he's just like going to be exploited by these white people who are absolutely already commodifying Black talents and benefiting from, owning Black talents. And it's not
it's so fascinating because the whole like the play or the story is set against this backdrop of the Great Migration and people thinking that, like if they come to the North, they're going to be more like they're going to have freedom. They're going to have opportunities and all of this. And, like Ma Rainey comes north and into Chicago and discovers that like she still has to negotiate with all these like power structures that are dominated by white folks.
Yeah, no, I think the play does like it's doing so much smart creative work, just like as a play. Like I mean, August Wilson obviously is a genius. Like that's like no one's gonna argue that. I don't think, or argue against that. But I think like, I mean, what they do with like this adaptation to be like 90 minutes is a tremendous amount. Like, and while you're watching it, I think it's the kind of thing that you can just like watch it and, you don't, in the moment you're experiencing something sort of like spoken to you and performed to you, but like it lives on in your head for like days and months and years after, because like that's like the incredible genius of good writing. And like that's the kind of like the magic, like there's something very exciting about seeing good plays.
Have either of you seen plays? Have either of you seen Fences? Because he wrote that as well.
Yes. Yeah. No, you have.
Yeah, and I think Viola Davis actually is like, she was the first. I was reading that she was the first African American to win the Triple Crown of acting, which is she won a Tony for the Broadway production of Fences, and she won an Oscar for Fences when it was turned into a movie, and then she's won an Emmy for How to Get Away with Murder.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it's just I had never heard
she's close to the EGOT, is what you're saying.
So close, so close.
Yeah.
I had never heard of August Wilson, and so now like I really want to see Fences, and I want to read more of his plays because, I think this one was just so amazing.
It is, and just and just like again, like what you take out of this one afternoon recording session, just everything that is happening, and imagining that this is happening all the time to every Black artist, right? This is just one example. This is just one studio, and how every single person in there has had to come up with their own way to deal with what they're being offered.
Yeah, like I mean, you think about Levy and like the brilliance of that particular performance and what he's offering. Like he knows he's ahead of the curve. Like his music is exciting. Like he is already making music in the future. In a way that but he's that sort of like that young genius who people are going to want to put in his place, because they're just like, you have to earn your stripes. You have to do all this slog in order for us to take you seriously. And so that you have like some, just like, that sort of classic desire to sort of like crush people before they get too big, so that they have to, I don't know. I find
that's something we confront even to this day, that there's something to be feared and frustrated by a young person.
Yeah.
And the idea if they get too successful too quickly, and they're like, you didn't pay your dues. What dues?
I know.
You wouldn't want to pay a due if you didn't have to. Like, this is ridiculous. It's not like someone says to you, I could give you the Oscar this year or in 5 years, because I think you should pay your dues. And you're like, but wait a second, if I'm really good now and people like what I do now, why shouldn't I do it now?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
And
then like the power struggle between Ma and Levy, I think, I mean, it's obviously complicated on numerous levels. Like she sees him eyeing her backup singer. She sees
her lover.
And her lover. Yeah. And she also knows that like, this woman, it's like, it's not an equal relationship between her and this woman. And she also knows that she can't give this woman everything that, like, the other stuff that Levy can give her. And it's like this power struggle that's happening on both like a creative front and like a control front, a power dynamic front, and also like then a romantic front. Like a romantic triangle is existing in here. And then it becomes also a conversation about like sort of gender dynamics and gender roles, and how, it's important for him that he doesn't really respect her that much. He doesn't give her genius its sort of like appreciation.
I mean, it does. It's
really fascinating.
It is fascinating because you can see from, if you were a manipulative person, you could work with her. Anyone that if you see that has a large ego, thinking of a now former president, that all you have to do is appeal to their ego. Oh, you're so great. I love what you do. And this is so amazing. And if you would just give me this little chance, as long as they think it's their idea, you're golden.
Yeah, but I don't think
because he couldn't do that, that's where they ended up with those sparks. And that's
I also think like she probably would not be the kind of person who would necessarily deal with flattery. Like she wants competency and she wants, perfection, right? Like
sure,
she's,
yeah.
That's like sort of her, because she knows that she has the goods as well. And I mean, obviously there's like this other little power dynamic of like, she's gonna get her nephew to with his stutter, and like eventually he will do it. And she seems like so legitimately proud of him when he does do it. Like there's so many interesting things happening there.
I
was getting a little bit frantic though. I was personally watching those records dump in. I was like,
but like as a producer who's been in a studio,
yeah.
I just like I just felt it really hard when like they did that. They finally got that take, and then they're just like, it didn't record properly.
Oh my god, I know. It just,
that is
just
there. Like
yeah,
producer's worst nightmare, and
such a worst nightmare. Yeah. The other thing that I really enjoyed spending so much time with the band downstairs, and like I just think what's his name is gonna escape me, but I just love him so much. Glenn Turman as Toledo. I thought he did a really beautiful job sort of like acting with Chadwick in their scenes together. And I like seeing him in everything he's ever done. Like he shows up a lot in all kinds of different places and spaces. And, just watching them all sort of, like just watching that sort of like both the creativity and the workmanlike and the machismo kind of things like all combined together in conversation. I don't know. I enjoyed how that was written, like it gets a little, I think sometimes it could like maybe be tightened up a tiny bit, but like obviously the like most harrowing scene is, well, I don't know. To me, the most harrowing scene is like the vivid recounting of his mother's like horrific gang rape, and that like the racist gang rape of, and then how his father gets his revenge, and
then his chest is sliced open.
Yeah, it's just, I mean, it's all deeply devastating and awful, and harrowing.
I'm gonna go and say the stabbing at the end was also
I did not. The stabbing surprised. So I guess spoiler.
Yes,
alert,
well, it surprised. I think it was supposed to surprise everybody.
The stabbing surprised me. I did not.
Mm-hmm.
I feared it was coming, but I did not.
Because we'd seen the
knife
already, and we'd seen that kind of rage that he was carrying around. But yeah, that monologue, that scene, reading in reviews, a lot of discussion around that, and it was a pretty incredible scene. And his watery eyes, just. Oh my! It was hard to. It was almost you could envision everything he was saying. My mother was standing there frying the chicken.
Well, I mean, even that scene where he's not in the room and he's standing outside listening, and they just focus in on his face and his reaction to him listening to the people talk in the room. Like that was amazing acting, because you can just like you can see like the muscles in his face moving, and his expressions reacting to this dialogue, and that was truly amazing.
Well, that's like, yeah, I mean, it's one of the things where I think I appreciate more and more is like when you hear about how people film stuff, and like you hear that like some actors will show up and do that, that like they'll show up and they'll be in the scene when they're getting like the close-ups on the face, so that you can continue to sort of have that real lived in moment, and you can always be reacting. But other actors won't show up, and so it's just a stand-in to sort of act off of. Like I feel like you can, I don't know, I feel like Chadwick Boseman was the kind of person who like showed up to make sure that everyone got the best like acting possible. You know what I mean? Like it's like that quality seemed so important to him. And I mean, we see it in like, Black Panther, obviously he's like far more brilliant a superhero than some of the other films.
But he like actually learned how to play the trumpet for this movie.
Yeah.
Like he got
isn't it a cornet? Cornet?
I thought it was a trumpet.
It's a
I thought
trumpet.
it was called the cornet.
But,
okay.
Yeah, like Branford Marsalis did the music, and like he said that Chadwick Boseman asked him for like a fingering chart for the trumpet, so he could learn how to play authentically.
Well, that makes sense. I mean, yeah.
I just love it.
So, but a lot of actors would not. They would just like kind of mime finger movements on the trumpet, right? Because
like, no, I mean, it felt like that.
Well, how many people in the world are going to know watching this movie that you're not authentically playing the trumpet? Like, I wouldn't know.
Yeah.
But Chadwick would know.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's like, you know, I don't know. I don't want to dwell too much on, you know, what his experience, or thinking even really what his experience would have been like, knowing that he's likely terminal and like this is like his sort of last hurrah, and I don't know. I can't really sit with that tragedy at this moment. But like I do think that what is captured on the by the camera is just this like really raw, meaningful thing that seemed to like it's rare when you see a movie where the role seems even more important to the actor playing the role than like anybody else, you know, like this felt like such a choice on his part, and it is, you know, obviously. So it just, I don't know, it kind of leaps off the screen at you.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah. No, and it's just, it also, the other part of it being a play is it just feels so like you just want to watch it in that full 1 hour and a half. It just feels like, and that's another thing I was kind of forgetting about how much I love a play, even though there were edits, obviously.
Yeah.
It just, that being part of something, you almost feel like you're in it. You almost feel like you're a person sitting in that room.
Totally.
Somehow.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You know, like maybe you're one of the musicians and it's just happening around you.
Yeah.
And that was extremely successful. And I just think that, you know, these are themes that I am a Canadian white woman. And, you know, obviously it's not that I'm not aware of racism or things, but it is something to sit with that. Like, and that's the difference.
Totally.
Play. You're not just reading about it. You're not just hearing about it, but you're having an opportunity to feel like you're in that and listening to it and taking some of that pain.
Yeah, it really made me miss going to the theater to see a good play, for sure.
Yeah. And just like being able to empathize, you know, like, yeah, it's not my personal lived experience either, but like just being able to empathize with it. And like, and I think like I'm not going to read like the whole long quote that you've shared with us, AG, but like I think it's like, this is from Hannah Georges, who is such a brilliant writer in The Atlantic. She writes, quote, Ma Rainey's Black Bottom stresses how integral music is to keeping its protagonist and all Black people alive. White folk don't understand about the blues. They hear it come out, but they don't know how it got there, Ma says in the film. Wilson's writing underscores the legacy of suffering that created the blues and the comfort the music provides. You don't sing to feel better, Ma explains in one scene. You sing because that's a way of understanding life. The blues help you get out of bed in the morning. You get up knowing you ain't alone. And I just think like that's absolutely what this film and this play convey so beautifully. Like, even though we don't spend, I think we can spend more time with the music personally, like just as someone who loves the music, and really like does love a lot of like Ma Rainey's recordings. Like, I think it would be great to spend more time with the music, but like we can do that. We can go and find that music after. I think like it's like these lines are so important to be written down as part of like the great artwork of like the 20th and 21st century. I think it's just really important to have that. And
also just that final statement of what is lost when you're not listening to the authentic person that feels that blues.
Yeah.
When those songs are just being recorded by soulless group of white dudes.
God.
I mean, if you want, like, it was a perfect ending.
Oh yeah.
It just, after all of that passion and drama and feeling and what it takes from Black people to give of themselves, this thing that has, keeps them alive, and then just have it cost $5 and then,
I mean, it's also like, I learned a lot about blues music from just watching this show, and it's going to make me think about it more when I'm listening to blues and in the tradition of keeping stories alive, and, how people's lived experiences are in these songs.
Yes.
It's not, and just sort of, I feel like I have more sort of knowledge to understand blues music a little bit.
I know there was some ego involved in Maude not wanting to do the song differently. But there was also this is a song I created. This is my song. This is me.
Like the song literally is called Ma Rainey's Black Bottom. Like that is like the song title.
Yeah. And this is my song. This is my feeling. And I want people to dance to it. Okay.
Well, that's like it's, I think it's like, I need to do more research about just sort of like how fictionalized this story is, because obviously like there are, like obviously Ma Rainey is a real person and et cetera, but like, I don't know personally.
I think it's mostly fictionalized.
Yeah, like I don't think Levy is
well,
like
the
a
one
real
recording session. You can't really know
it's like a fictionalized recording session.
But perhaps like a lot of recording sessions, with the exception maybe the stabbing.
I don't. I mean, there's like aspects of it I'm sure that are like real, but I'm curious as to and I want to go and read about like more interviews with August Wilson, just about like what it is for him and why it was like the creative decisions behind sort of placing Ma Rainey front and center, but also to the side.
Yeah.
Because I think that's like kind of an interesting choice.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm really curious. And I really desperately want to see an actual like live theater production of this now.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah. Well, the review I was reading was talking about how amazing that is as a live play. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, plays. One day we'll go out again.
One day. Yeah. I am. But anyway, we love to, say does something pop, and for me this pops.
It does. I feel like that's
I
wrong
totally
language
think
for something as significant as this.
I know it's so like, oh look, these ladies say it pops. Yeah,
no. Sure. Yeah, whatever. Yeah.
No, I like highly recommend it, and I think like spend some time with it, and and like just I'm really I really do miss theater though. Well, we love to leave our episodes on something we recommend. And Lisa, would you like to go first?
Sure. So in my quick book reading now, I finished a memoir called Wine Girl by Victoria James. And it is a memoir of the United States' youngest sommelier and one of the few female wine sommeliers. And so quite a tragic beginning to her life, very complicated family situation. She got into she left home quite early and then got into the restaurant and wine business. And, the friend who lent it to me and said, oh, there's, some Me Too movement issues in it, Me Too issues. And I thought, oh, well, of course, she's a female working in the food industry. It is harrowing. So I'm going to warn everyone about this. I think that the coverage that says wine girl, what's it like to be a wine girl? I really enjoyed it. I was super impressed with the life this woman has created and how she went forward with, some substance abuse issues and trauma and family dramas and everything. And I think at the moment now she's probably like 30 or 31.
Wow.
So yeah, so very young to do all of these things. Speaking of our other conversation there, but yeah, I underestimated what she had to see. So it is an amazing accomplishment on many levels.
Cool. Thank you. AG, what about you?
I was going to recommend the documentary that is also on Netflix about the making of Ma Rainey's Black Bottom.
Oh,
It's
I
called
didn't know. Oh,
Ma Rainey's Black Bottom: A Legacy Brought to Screen. And it features interviews with Viola Davis and Denzel Washington and George C. Wolfe. And they just kind of give their insights into the making of the film. And you learn stuff about, the incredible costumes and the costume design and how, like, every extra was kind of basically told, like, what their costume, like, where their clothes came from, what that it means to their character and everything.
Wow.
Like, it was just so specific. And yeah, you just, you find out, like, the making of the music from Branford Marsalis. And, like, Denzel talks about, like, how he had never heard of Ma Rainey before he produced, this film. And so, it's quite fascinating. And yeah, it kind of, like, is a great companion piece to the film. So I highly recommend watching it. It's pretty short too. It's like 30 minutes long.
oh,
That's awesome. That's great.
Yeah.
They should do that for like many films. I think.
Well, you know what? We've talked about this before, but when we used to buy DVDs, you would have those great extra features.
Yeah.
Right? And then you could sometimes watch with the director's commentary over the top of it. And so, but we don't have those anymore. So I appreciate like a little extra like that.
Yeah, that's great. That's awesome. I'm going in a whole other direction. And I know that I recommended this person like a few weeks ago. Like I recommended their astrology a few weeks ago, Chani Nicholas. But now I've just read their book, and now I'm recommending their book. It's called You Were Born for This, and it's by Chani Nicholas. And it's one of those audiobooks that, like, I know that I also now have to get a physical copy because I'm going to, like, reference it so much. And so, like, if you totally are just like, astrology is, like, ridiculous, that's fine. I understand that. However, if you even just have, like, the mildest interest in astrology, I think that there is something kind of pretty powerful. Like, so, I have, like, my chart from, like, Chani's site. You can just get, like, your chart, by filling in information that, you do need, like, your time of birth and your date of birth and, your location. And then it will email you your chart right away. And so going through the book, I actually had to pull my car over because I burst into tears because of how specifically the location of my moon in its, like, certain house, how much it got right about referencing, like, my, like, just how meaningful it was specifically to me and how called out I felt about aspects of myself by this, like, this, just, like, thing about, anyway, it's all I'm saying. If you're interested in doing a little bit of, like, self-reflection, this book is a great opportunity for that. And I highly recommend it. It's called You Were Born for This.
Excellent.
Okay.
Wow. We've given you a lot today.
Yeah, so much. So much. Just in case you want to know how my 2021's going.
And I'm reading books, so.
So thank you so much, everyone, for listening. You can hang out with us on and I also wanted to just say, like, thank you, Bronwyn, for, like, one of the nicest letters. Our listener, Bronwyn, you sent us a really nice letter. It meant a lot to all of us. And thank you for that. Yeah, like, sometimes I forget to, like, mention people, and I'm sorry about that, but, like, I'm gonna make sure that we do better about that going forward. But, like, thanks, Bronwyn. Anyway, thanks so much. You can email us, like Bronwyn did, at popthiscollective@gmail.com. You could hang out with us on Instagram, on Facebook, on Twitter. You could rate and review us 5 stars.
5 stars. Like our 5-star producer and co-host, Andrea Gin.
Aw, thank you, Lisa.
There's no way to give a 6-star, but I think you should have one.
You do deserve 6
You
stars.
do. You are a 6-star, not general.
Wow.
Yeah. So thank you.
I feel so good about myself now.
You should. It's a phone letter we sent you. So yeah, thank you everyone. We'll see you soon. Keep reading and watching and doing and looking at the stars, I guess.
Yeah, we'll be with you next week.
Yeah, we will. Bye.